Welcome all to my first time in the PML, the Pokemon Masters League. This is a video just of a draft recap or a draft analysis of my team comp. You guys know when I walk into a draft league or a new draft league, I always try to get as many new mons as possible, mons that I've never used. Although I do tend to like pick up a few comfort zone mons, things that I've used before, things I'm confident with, or that I know how to use in certain situations. We always want an out, right? Or at least if we want to swing, we want to know what to swing with. So there was no, question for me for the tier 1 pick. But before I get into it, let me just give a little bit of background. PML draft or Pokemon League, Pokemon Master League draft. This is the YT or the YouTube Upload Required League. It's hosted by Charizard King, aka Joe, fellow coach in my own personal league, the FBL Final Battle League. Both links are down below, so you can check out Joe's channel and also the FBL thing, Discord. And what I wanted to say was that this league's draft was very different from the other ones, just because we weren't using the Draft League NL site, which most leagues do. Instead, Joe opted to use the normal like Google Sheets or Docs or whatever. But it also had a very different format. Yes, it was a snake format. You go down the list and then back up, reverse order. But the tiering was very different. There was no Ubers allowed. So no legendaries. The Ultra Beasts were allowed. So that was very different for one. Secondly, you do get one of each pick for the tiers that you are going to see on this side, which was 1 through 5. Don't mind the cross out in 5. Obviously you pick what you want as your turn comes, but the fun part for me, was the free and on. You're gonna see 3 free slots and 1 wild card. What's awesome about the wild card is that it can be any mon from any tier, but the one condition is it has to be picked from during your last turn or your last pick. Things to note for the free slots: they can only be mons from tiers 3 and below, meaning 3, 4, and 5, which does put a little bit of constraint on it, and it's not too crazy, so teams can't become too stacked. But it was definitely good because I felt like it gave people the opportunity to just kind of throw an upset in there with the wild card, and I definitely did. But before we get all the way down there, let's go through the mons. Tier 1, our first choice, it had to be Cinderace. And what's so special about this Cinderace? We are running Libero this season. Unfortunately, because it is a tier 1 mon, we are not going to be able to use Dynamax. Oh, that's another thing I forgot to mention. You're only allowed to Dynamax your tier 3 or below mon. All right, so like Noivern, Claydol, Stunfisk, Ribombee, Mienshao, Dusclops. Those are the only ones that I can Dynamax in my battles. I have a few good Dynamax mons, a little iffy, but yeah, a very different constraint for this league. Something that I am looking forward to use just because it's different. You always want to try to do different things, and like I said, I try to pick up different mons. Again, tier 1 Cinderace. It came down to me really between Cinderace and Dragapult. I never used Dragapult before, but I also never got to use a Libero Cinderace before. Having that stat boost is also very, very nice, and being able to maybe read your opponent and change your typing to block and attack, like maybe using Acrobatics to dodge a ground move or using Sucker Punch to dodge a psychic move. Those things are very monumental in terms of plays or reading your opponent. It could be the game changer, so it's a lot of fun. Also did like the option of Cinderace. Let me just switch it to this screen, the Pokemon Showdown screen that I have, just because Cinderace has a lot of utility as well. It's got U-turn, it's got Court Change. For those who don't know what Court Change is, it basically shifts all the hazards of one side and screens, etc., I think, to the other side. Let's actually take a read on that because I just want to be sure. But swaps the field effects. Yeah, so all the field effects on one side are basically just swapped. So let's say he's got rocks and I don't have them, or whatever, or I have rocks and on my side and he doesn't have it, I can swap it onto his. I think that's pretty huge. Cinderace is a very hard mon to kind of prep for sometimes because you don't know what somebody can be. I've seen bulk up sets, I've seen the Court Chain sets, I've seen just strictly utility. It's very, very hard to deal with sometimes. Our tier 2 mon, I decided that our higher tier mons should be more, or our top 2 mons should be more all-rounders per se. Now I know Cinderace isn't necessarily an all-rounder, but it does have all-rounder qualities, with its its move pool, but Rotom Wash is definitely an all-rounder mon in my opinion. It can be played defensive or offensive, has utility, like it has defog, and it also has Volt Switch, the option to get out, although it can be cucked by a ground type. You know, sometimes you got to go for the play. Also having access to Will-O-Wisp, Pain Split and such, it's definitely a mon that people have to really like plan for. My second tier 2, Tangrowth, man. I was excited for this thing because I actually tried to pick up a Regenerator core team in a few different leagues. Never get the opportunity to do it, but this time I got a few. I got what, Mienshao and Tangrowth. I'm content with it. I wish I would have got the Tornadus. I tried to do an FBL, that's what it was, but I didn't get it. Tangrowth, a great physical wall, has access to knockoff, Leech Seed. It also has Chlorophyll aside from Regenerator, and for those of you who don't know Regenerators, every time it swaps out, I think it gets back 1/3 its maximum HP. Chlorophyll double in the sun. I doubt I'm gonna have a scenario where the sun comes up, maybe if I demax the Noivern, but Tangrowth has very good offensive stats as well. That's something I think people forget to realize, or to make sure they remember in their scenarios where they're facing off against this thing. But it has a base attack of 100 and a base special attack of 110. Even though this thing looks like just a big blob of vines, it is really offensive. Like, it's not something to take lightly. A super effective knockoff with an item is going to do a good chunk if you're offensive invested. I've had situations where I've ran my Crest and my Crest was against a Tangrowth, and even though the Crest should technically smoke this thing because its def is so low, taking a knockoff into, like, you know, another physical attack is pretty it's pretty hurtful. Like, it smoked my Crest one time in SRL. I'll never forget it, so I decided I had to pick this thing up. One of the other things I did recognize in terms of my weaknesses before drafting in this league was that in my other leagues I had tend to pick walls. Like I said, I do recognize the need for walls now, before, as opposed to when I first started playing like a year ago. And when I would pick walls, I wouldn't necessarily think about like a move or two ahead. And what would happen is people would get in like a substitute or some type of setup, and it would cost me too much to maneuver myself out of that hole, to where it would be hard after that to see a way to win the game. And because of that, I thought Noivern was pretty crucial as a pick. An excellent tier 3 mon in my opinion. Has access to momentum, defog. Also, he has the move Infiltrator, or the ability Infiltrator, which is very crucial in my opinion. If I have a wall and I need to switch out and get in before they really get some setup, you know, let's say they bring in something that I think is going to set up, I can hard swap it to Noivern on the same turn they sub, and they'll take the 25%, and before they get up another ability or another move to buff their stats, I'm going to hit behind the sub. So it's pretty big being able to get, I think, a Draco off behind the sub. The only real like threats to this, I think, is like maybe if we have like a Clefable or a substitute fairy type. But you know, like things like Kyurem and whatever, I mean, they don't have legendaries, but we don't have to worry about them as much, which I think is pretty big. I'm not saying Noivern is going to be a bring every single week, but I am saying that it is great to have access to Infiltrator on such an offensive mon. It'll kind of pull you out of a situation that you were not necessarily ready for, because you don't know which mon will have substitute, but at least you're kind of prepared knowing that you have Infiltrator. Noivern also very good with its other ability, Frisk, tells you the item of the mon. I love that. I really love that. Noivern is great, I think, and I've never personally used it yet, but it's fast as heck and it has great offensive stats as well. I mean, not too great, but I think it's almost base 100, which I think is pretty good. And it has a good move pool, you know, access to flying, fire, dragon, obviously, psychic, and ghost. You know, the only thing that I did notice was that the off typing moves were physically offensive. That kind of sucks. You know, it would have been nice to have access to like Thunderbolt and stuff, but you know, it is what it is. There's a lot of ways to run this thing, you know, like Throat Spray, Hyper Voice, just Spect in general, you know, pretty dope mon. Oh, also another biggie. It has access to Whirlwind, so if I am running Frisk, at least I have Whirlwind. So like if I switch into a sub and I felt like the Frisk was necessary in some scenarios where speed ties were very close and I needed to know the items, at least I had a Whirlwinder. So like if I switch in, I can just click Whirlwind instead of trying to swing. Great mon. Great mon. Fourth, my tier 4 mon. I love this mon. I have used him before, but not too much. I think in one other league only, a YCL league actually. Claydol. Claydol's a great mon. Access to stealth rocks, rapid spin, and he's a great Spadef wall with a base stat of 120 and an HP of 60. He's not an like uber, but like Blissey, but he is great just because he dodges the ground moves. He has access to an amazing move pool, guys. When I say amazing, fairy, fighting, ghost, psychic, ice, you know, like he has access to ice beam, grass knot. It's just awesome. Like this mon is awesome. And another biggie, he has rapid spin. I think I said it already, but I think each team, when I draft, you generally need a rapid spin and a defogger, just because somebody could read if it's your only rapid spin and play the ghost type in front of it, and that would really suck because they get a free in. So I think each team requires at least one, and you never want to put yourself in a situation where like you're sitting on like 2 layers of spikes and toxic spikes, and you know you're just being chipped away for free. Because it's one thing to switch in on rocks and take the 1-turn damage, but it's another thing to sit there and take residual damage from toxic spikes. Nobody wants that, right? So Claydol, awesome mon. He also does have good, like decent offensive stats with them being tied at 70. He's like, I'd say he's slow, but not too slow. 75, not bad. But I think with like, you know, Cinderace, Noivern, and Ribombee and stuff, we kind of pick up in terms of the lack of speed. Stunfisk, my tier 5, meant to be another tank. Also needed a ground type, I believe. Yeah, I got Stunfisk Galar, so he was my ground and my steel type. I think he's a good ground and steel type just because he has access again to stealth rocks, and he has a crazy move pool. Actually, if you guys look at it, he gets things like Ice Fang, like, and Foul Play, which is very good for certain situations, like to get yourself out of. Having Pain Split as well is awesome. Just trading off the HP in a snare, like come in, take a hit. If you know they have to switch, you Pain Split, get the HP back. You know, you kind of neutralize the whole swing or the rotation. Being able to have Thunder Wave, Yawn, and then Stealth Rock is a great thing too. And he has access to the sludge moves, which is also sick. I've never used these mons before. Like I said, guys, I try to pick up mons I've never used before, and you'll see it takes me like a game or two kind of get into the swings of things. Although FBL is kind of telling, I've been doing pretty poorly in that. But this mon I'm looking forward to using. Actually, everybody picks up this mon and never cares. What's Snap Trap? Traps the enemy and damages it for 4 to 5 turns. Okay, it's a grass version of that. Nice. All right, so this mon actually has a lot more than I thought it had. Actually, wow, reflect type, steel beam. A stab steel beam, that might be something to note. Definitely. And he gets sucker punch. Wow, there's a lot of things in here actually. And metal sound. All right, so this is definitely something that I look forward to using, believe it or not. Terrain pulse. Wow. Okay. All right, moving forward, guys. These next 2 mons, well, there's 3 mons in my wilds and my free. Obviously, I'm super excited about. Obviously, you know, I used Dusclops prior to, so not so much. But Ribombee, boy oh boy, I've wanted to use Ribombee for a while now. It is definitely a top tier Weber, if not like the best in my opinion. A lot of people argue it's Vikavolt just because of Vikavolt's defensive stats, because Ribombee kind of goes down like with anything, and or breaks comes down to Sash, which is true, but I think people lack the ability to just say, or to just use Ribombee to a full offensive threat as well. This thing is fast. All right, let's pull it up real quick. Ribombee is a base 124 speed mon. That's fast as heck. All right, and also it has the ability to shield us, which is good. It just blocks out the secondary effect of all the moves, so you won't get like flinched, etc. So like, let's say you go down the Sash from an air slash, you won't get flinched. Pretty crucial. But this is one of the first times in a long time, guys, that since I've had a Araquanid, I'd say, that I had access to sticky webs. I look forward to using it for that matter. And hopefully too many people don't watch this, but low-key, too many of the coaches, maybe get in a Quiver Dance setup Ribombee against someone. That would be crazy because it gets access to Giga Drain, right? Yeah, I think it does. No, it doesn't. Wow. I always thought this thing got access to Giga Drain. So what is the healing move that it has actually? Oh, it has Draining Kiss. Oh, okay. But Draining Kiss is kind of huge because it's 75%. Yeah, Draining Kiss is 75% of the damage dealt. So that's pretty crucial. Stab, Draining Kiss. This was more Cleric as well, like utility, Cleric and Sticky Webs, like I said. Stab, Bug Buzz behind the sub, access to setup, and also defog. Another huge thing, access to defog. You know, all these utility things make these mons hard to prep for. Oh, it also gets Roost. Wow. Makes it hard to prep for in a sense where people will not necessarily know what you're going for every time. It's sort of like what we call in League of Legends a flex pick. You know, you come in with multiple mons with defog, they don't know until it happens, right? This thing also gets U-turn. Holy smoke, I did not know that. Wow. Yo. I guess I didn't do as much research as I thought I did when I was drafting. Great. Let's move on to Mienshao though. You know how I'm moving with Raibame, watch out. Mienshao, our stab, fighting type, close combat, you know the vibe. Mienshao is massive, bruh. Like base 125 attack, access to great moves, acrobatics. You know, it also has the special, right? Yeah, but I don't think I'm really gonna. You never know. Acrobatics, poison jab. It has some good special attacks as well. But the thing that I like the most, it has access to U-turn, and the regenerator ability lets it regenerate 1/3 of its HP upon switching back to the bench. Great move. Great move. Yeah, so access to fire, flying, fighting, normal, grass, poison, rock. Yeah, oh, it does get Stone Edge and bug. Not that we're looking to do a lot of damage with the U-turn, but it being like banded, you know, damage is damage, chip is chip in the end. We also have dual chop, which is pretty cool. Didn't even think about that. Wow, that's really nice actually. Yo, I look forward to this team. Dusclops, not too much to say. Primary Violet user with, like, you know, potentially burning mons, pain splitting, night shitting. Consistent ship if I need it to be. Come in, take a hit, do what it's got to do. It could be either wall, you know, with his both his defense stats being, I think, 135, right? Or 130, sorry. Both his defensive stats being 130 and then buffing 1.5. We're looking at almost 200 in each stat with a Violet. Okay, that's pretty crazy. You know, that's actually pretty crazy. What is it? 130 divided by 2 is 65, so 195 in each defense stat. It can go either way with Dusclops. It's pretty nuts. You guys have seen me use this thing. This thing's been a terror. It actually won me a bunch of games. Just depends how you use it. Now, what I'm most excited for, you actually see me. I pulled him up on the front of the screen earlier. Darmanitan Galar, baby. This is what I was ready to use. This thing has got an inherent choice band in its ability, Guerrilla Tactics, all right? 1.5 on its attacking stat, but it can only choose the first move. Let's band the banded mon. Let's go nuts. How does that work? Is it 1.5 times the 1.5? Or if it just like times 2? Actually, I'll look that up. But it also has access to Zen mode, where it changes its typing, I think, as well. I don't think I'm gonna really use the Zen mode one too much, but this thing is great, dude. Like fighting, ice, ground, fire, like this thing is nuts. And the thing that really caught, oh, steel 2 and dark, the thing that really caught me off guard was that it had access to freeze dry, bro. I was like, holy crap, what if somebody switches in like a, you know, like Quagsire or something? A freeze dry is gonna hurt regardless of how trash the stat is. For the most part, like if you catch a switch in, it'd probably be like a 2-co, I think, maybe. I mean, probably not, depends. But like freeze dry was pretty cool, I thought. You know, not that I'm probably gonna use it, nobody ever uses this shit, but you know what I'm saying. And it actually has Will-O-Wisp too, that's kind of funny. But another utility mon, and this thing has got like every type of coverage, like psychic, fire, bug, dark, rock, steel, ground, ice, fighting, grass. In a sense, we're grass not really we're gonna use it, but look at that, that's like 9 types, 9 really good offensive moves that this thing can bring. It's actually nuts. Maybe if we ran a Zen mode one, we'd click Will-O-Wisp. It'd kind of be crazy if we weren't Zen and ran a Will-O-Wisp and they thought it was Zen, and then we just smoked the shit out of something later on with guerrilla tactics. It'd be crazy, right? I can't wait to use this mod. This is like, to me, this is my premier mod. I'm like super excited for it. I've never got to use this thing. This thing has shitted on me so many times, and I'm ready to return the favor. Straight up, ready to return the favor with this thing. Watch out. Unfortunately, like I said, this league is not on the Draft League NL site, so I won't be able to work on my CCS or kind of grow in terms of on that website and to get myself into better leagues. But I have made friendships with a bunch of people here that I do like. The coaches in your league, your fellow coaches, definitely take a big role or play a big role in your like mentality or mental towards the league and how you perform, and you know, like how consistent you are with certain things. This is an upload required league, so I think it's definitely a big deal, and I'm happy that Joe invited me. Thank you, Joe. I appreciate the invite. I look forward to playing all of you guys with this team. It's gonna be crazy. Just with Cinderace and Tar, man, I love it. I've got a lot of options. I think I drafted pretty well. Maybe I could have gone for a little bit more bulky mons, but I was kind of bored with just playing like safe. I want to swing, bro, and I want to swing hard. Like, just, you know, make people really like be under pressure, potentially misplay. A lot of times now you see your win comes from people struggling to also establish win cons or find outs to the immense pressure that you bring with certain mons, which is what I hope to do. With that being said, guys, thank you for tuning in. I appreciate you checking out the channel. Smash the thumbs up button. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Just a PML coach, please do. I'll return the favor. Waiting for the description type up to add you guys down there. Look forward to playing y'all as well. I'll see you in the next one, which is gonna be our first battle. I think it's supposed to be next week. With that being said, Team Tempest and Kiwi out. Peace.